How are you today? This is your teacher Van and this is your teacher Ann. And we are excited to have you here! But before we formally start our lesson, let us have first an activity.
And our activity for today is Name It to Know It. Direction. Guess the word that is wanted to convey.
The first set of pictures. The timer starts now. Okay, very good. That's analytic.
The second set of pictures. Timer starts now. Yes, you got it right. It's holistic.
And the last set of pictures. The timer starts now. Excellent! It's the rubrics.
After playing with the activity, can you guess our topic for today?
Okay, very good. Our topic for today is all about meaning, types, and development of rubrics.
And for our objective, at the end of the lesson, the students are expected to
Number 1. Explain and enumerate the types of scoring rubrics. Number 2. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of scoring rubrics. And lastly, demonstrate knowledge and skills on how rubrics are crafted.
What is a rubric? A rubric is a rating scale used by the teachers to assess students' work against a certain standard or criteria. This is a great tool for objectively measuring students' performances. Teachers can use this scoring to evaluate a student's degree of competence in executing a task or demonstrating understanding of a subject, specifying the different levels of proficiency for each criterion.
In the blog article of Linda Suski, two of the first people to use the term rubric were Charles Cooper at the University of Buffalo and Richard Lloyd Jones at the University of Iowa, both of whom contributed chapters to a 1977 monograph called Evaluating Writing, Describing, Measuring, Judging, published by the National Council of Teachers of English.
Are there any advantages and disadvantages of scoring rubrics?
Yes, there is. For the advantages, Gabuyo and Concepcion et al. In 2012 enumerated the advantages and disadvantages of scoring a rubrics. First, rubrics allow assessment to become more objective and consistent. Second, rubrics clarify the criteria in specific terms. Number 3, rubrics clearly show the students how work will be evaluated and what is expected. Number 4, rubrics promote students' awareness of the criteria used in assessing peer performance. And number 5, rubrics provide useful feedback regarding the effectiveness of the instruction. And lastly, rubrics provide benchmark against which to measure and document progress.
Is that all?
Wait, there's more. Other advantages in scoring rubrics are: Number 1, helps the grading process become more efficient. Number 2, helps faculty grade or score more accurately, fairly, and reliably. Number 3, requires faculty to set and define more precisely the criteria used in the grading process. Number 4, supports uniform and standardized grading process among different faculty members. Number 5, clarifies quality expectation to students about their assignments. Number 6, student can self-assess their work before submitting it. Number 7, students can understand better the rationale and the reason for grades. Number 8, helps to communicate grade between faculty and students. And lastly, it helps improve students' performance because they know what to focus on.
Now, what are the downfalls of scoring a rubric? The downfalls of scoring rubrics are the following. Number 1, development of rubrics can be complicated and time-consuming. Number 2, using the correct language to express the performance expectation can be difficult. finding the correct set of criteria to define performance can be complex. And lastly, rubrics might need to be continuously revised before it can be usable in any easy fashion.
There are two types of rubrics, the holistic rubrics
And the analytic rubrics.
Let's see first what is holistic rubrics. Holistic rubrics do not list a separate level of performance for each criterion. Instead, holistic rubrics assign a level of performance along with a multiple criteria as a whole. In other words, you put all the components together. This is according to Gabuyo and Concepcion et al. In 2012. What are the advantages of holistic rubrics? First, emphasis on what the learner is able to demonstrate rather than what she or he cannot do. Second, saves time by minimizing the number of decisions raters make. And lastly, can be applied consistently by trained raters, increasing reliability. What are the disadvantages of holistic rubrics? First, do not provide specific feedback for improvement. Second, when student work is at varying levels spanning the criteria points, it can be difficult to select the single best description. And lastly, criteria cannot be weighted.
What is analytic rubrics? An analytic rubrics look like a grid with the requirements for student output written in the leftmost column and performance levels listed across the top row, typically using numbers or descriptive tags. The cells in the rubric center can be kept blank or filled in with explanations of what the given criteria looks like for each level of achievement. This is how it looks like. What are the advantages of analytic rubrics?
Number 1, provide useful feedback on areas of strength and weakness. Criterion can be weighted to reflect the relative importance of each dimension.
What are the disadvantages of analytic rubrics?
Takes more time to create and use than a holistic rubric. Unless each point for each criterion is well-defined, raters may not arrive at the same score.
If you are interested in making rubrics, here are the steps that Gaboy suggested in developing rubrics.
First, re-examine the learning objectives to be addressed by the task. Identify your standards, objectives, and goals for your student. Standard is a statement of the student should be able to know or be able to perform.
Number 2, identify specific observable attributes that you want to see. Also, identify the characteristics of a good performance on the task in the criteria.
And the last step, brainstorm characteristics that describes each attribute. Identify the levels of performance for each criterion. Through this level of performance, the teacher or the rater can provide more detailed feedback about the performance of the students.
In conclusion, rubric is a means of both control and communication that allows for tracking, comparison, database recording, and a variety of other methods of commoditizing knowledge and converting it into information. It is also a systematic mechanical method of measuring, quantifying, and comparing objects based on a small, well-defined set of criteria. In simple terms, it transforms the realm of quality into the world of quantity, making things like grades and competitiveness easier to manage.
As a reflection on this topic, a rubric is a fantastic tool for both students and a teacher. Its goal is to increase the transparency in grading. It is used by the students when working on an assignment so that he or she knows what is anticipated in the project and how many points each part is worth, while the rubrics is used by the teacher to justify the grade awarded. And to evaluate your understanding, let's Let's have an assessment. Direction. Provide the answer of the following statements.
Number 1. A rating scale used by teachers to assess students' work against a certain standard or criteria. Timer starts now. Okay, the correct answer is rubrics.
Number 2. First two people to use the term rubrics. The timer starts now. Yes, it's Charles Cooper and Richard Lloyd Jones.
Number 3. A type of rubrics assigned a level of performance along with multiple criteria as a whole. Timer starts now. Okay, very good. It's holistic rubrics.
Number 4. A grid-like type of rubric. The timer starts now. Yes, you're right. It's analytic rubrics.
Okay, for the last question, who uses this rubric scoring to evaluate a student's degree of competence in executing a task? Timer starts now. Okay, you got it right. It's teachers.
Lastly, for our assignment, develop your own rubrics based on the discussion. Choose whether analytic or holistic rubrics. Submit your answers through Google Classroom.
Did you learn something from us? We hope so. According to Abraham Lincoln, the best way to predict your future is to create it. I am Vanessa Joy SIDON, And I am Anna Michelle A. MAGBANUA, your mentor for this day.